I would love to.
Okay, so it's quite a detailed call tonight. We've got some lots of good information coming your way. But first of all, we just wanted to do just a couple of announcements really quickly, and the ranking, because it's the first week of the month. We've got Becky on to share that ranking.
Sorry, it's not working. I just need to fix something.
Oh. Okay, so I'll just do the announcements, which conventions next week, as I'm sure you're all very aware. Really exciting. So again, you've got a few more days still to invite people. In fact, can you mute everybody? As you've got there.
Yeah.
Thing as well. We're just going to mute you all for the moment, and you can just ask questions at the end. Yeah, so conventions next week. It's very exciting. We've got Dr. Hill coming, David Sterling coming. We have lots of leaders speaking, and the business days. I think we've got 1,000 people almost coming on the Thursday.
Yeah,
right?
on the Thursday for when everyone comes,
people.
And there's about 300-400 coming for the elites and above. So
it's going to be really, really good. Nice energy, nice buzz, and lots of good practical tips, as well as people sharing a bit about their experiences. And you'll hear from different people, and that's what's really valuable, I think, from those events. And of course, we've got our party on the boat, and so that's a really good time to meet the team. We've still got a few tickets left for that, and David Sterling and Dr. Hill will be there as well at the beginning of the party, so make sure you get there on time. But you don't really get to speak to them personally very much, so that's a really good chance to have a chat with them. And Kirk Jowers is going to be there, probably with his family as well. And I think Lisa's going to be there. Lisa's going to be there as well. So
it's also
really nice to kind of meet.
It's on a boat.
And it's on a yacht. Boat, exactly.
Just a no-brainer. Makes sense.
And we would love to meet you all. So if you haven't booked that, then book it. You've still got some days left to book that. And the gala, of course, as well.
Well, you got the first day convention is from 10 till 4. So that finishes at the gala. You've then got 3 hours in between. So you just want to have a look at this week, because it's obviously very busy. There are a couple of other things going on that aren't put on by doTERRA or by our team, but they are going on that you might want to look at going. They'll be very useful. But it is a swamp day, a swamp week. It's busy. That's why we haven't given other things going on. It's just busy as it is. So just make sure you plan your week and be as close to everything is in one central place, really.
Bring lots of peppermint to keep you awake.
But it's going to be a great week. It's going to be really fun.
Yes, we can't wait.
We
can't wait to meet you. So please come up and speak to us. Say hi. We'd love to see you. But hopefully we'll see you at the party.
Yep.
Cool.
So, May promotions. So the Rose and Jasmine. Do you want to do that one?
You do.
Oh, I'll do it because I'm so good at that one.
Down. Someone in a sec.
Rose and Jasmine. This is for people that enroll in. So this is obviously for builders. Customers can't get this, which obviously you've got lots of customers that are frustrated they can't buy the Rose and Jasmine because it can't be produced in enough quantities. So they give it for people every year. It's only once every year that they do it. And if you enroll 4 people with over 100 PV or more this month, you'll get a free Jasmine. If you enroll 7 people or more, you'll get a free Rose. If you get 11 enrollments or more, you get a free Jasmine and a free Rose. Okay, so the Jasmine and the Rose, they're very, very expensive oils if you could possibly buy them from doTERRA.
Mm-hmm. I think the Rose is worth about £450 and the Jasmine about £250. So amazing. And last year it was much harder to win them. You had to do LRP orders. I remember it was
they had to do an LRP the next month.
It was a 2-month competition last year. So this year,
much better.
Go for it. Like honestly, they're incredible oils. They're wonderful. I love the Rose and Jasmine. Really, really worth going for.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Okay, nice one, baby. That's good.
Mum's going to do the recognition for the top enrollers. Over to you, Mum.
Hi, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Because I said something before that Natalie, our upline, will also be at the convention and also on the yacht. So people that haven't met her, this will be a great opportunity, and I know she would love to meet as many of you as possible. So she's really personable, really lovely, and it's lovely for you to get to know her.
We do try and hide Natalie because people like her too much. She's too lovely, so try not to invite her to stuff. No, she's amazing, isn't she?
She's really lovely, and so lovely. So I forgot. She'll be there too. Becky, have we lost you?
Frozen, Mum. Technical difficulties.
Okay, so we're going to take over so we can get on with the evening.
I'll do the top and rollers. So just want to congratulate the top and rollers for this month. So these people got 9. Andy and Sue, Miranda, Vanessa and Debbie got 9 enrollments. Well done, guys. Claire Thomas with 12. Debbie with 13. Annabelle with 14. Alison Bradley with 15. And Alison...
I'm here.
We've just done it, Beck. Sorry.
Brilliant. Okay, my computer just went. It's weird. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Do next one's, Mum.
Rachel, we'll finish this, I think.
Yeah.
So Rachel and Michelle, 17 and 19.
Stop. This is my
moving it on, so we can pass over to Claire.
Look at Rochelle. And Rachel. Look how many. So good.
Amazing.
Well done, guys. And then just quickly, for the rank advancements, this is for the rank advancements for March, because this is people that are going to be celebrated at RAC Club as well. And there's going to be more of you, because there's a couple of, this sounds like a swear word, but it's not, double rankers. Couldn't call it anything else. It just felt too good to call it that. And then people that, so what we mean by double rankers is people that went from like Premier to Silver. There's a couple of them. Or there are also people that hit Elite in March and then also hit it in April. So we're going to be celebrating those guys. And people that did that will also get the extra cash bonuses as well at the yacht.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not coming to the yacht, you will still receive, or the party, you'll still receive those gifts. We'll send it to you or whatever. Or if you're at Emily and Tim's team party, you will receive it either there or later. Okay, so don't worry. But for the rankers for this month, that sounds rude. Over to you, Mum.
Okay, so these are all those who were elite. Well, are elite. We have David Williams. Please excuse my pronunciation of some names, but here we go. Narcisco Nicodeo, hopefully that's right. Richard Berry, Jenny Smith, Aurelia Abramatian, Nadia Rathbone Jubb, Teresa Fletcher, and Debbie Davenport.
Well done.
Well done for being elite, guys.
Really good. A tough
amazing
month.
It was a tough month for everyone.
We have Alison, for premiers, we have Alison Bradley and Annabelle Grimer.
Amazing.
Well done.
Well done.
And then we have in April, those turning silver, 3 people, Karina Rathbone, Alice Peed, and Julie Evans. So well done. That's such a milestone to get to. So
and really well done for doing it in April. Like, you chose a tough month.
Yes.
Even though we thought it was going to be a great month, it actually turned out to be quite tough. April did for everyone. So
did. Yeah.
Well done, guys. Thanks, Mum.
You're welcome. Congratulations, everybody. Amazing.
Okay, so before I thanks Becky, thanks very much for that. Before I hand over to Claire, so Claire's our guest speaker tonight, and I'm so thankful to have Claire on our team. Really lovely of Claire to volunteer. Claire actually reached out to us, which was just lovely, offering her services, and this is what she's been doing a lot of, talking to professionals about how to not panic and freak out about this new regulations that are coming in. So she's going to help us all to feel better and to kind of know what to expect. Just before I pass over to Claire, and I'll let you introduce yourself, Claire, more about your background and stuff. Just to give some clarification on what doTERRA is doing as well, and to give some reassurance there. I was just speaking with Lisa today just to kind of absolutely confirm that doTERRA are completely on target and on point and ticking every single box. So they are going to be absolutely 100% compliant with this, as you can expect with a big company. The fines, they're $1 million fines. There's no way there's going to be any shortcuts there. So there's actually a group of people assigned to just this, making sure that doTERRA are going to be up to speed in time for the 25th of May. And Lisa was also saying that she's going to be putting out FAQs, so frequently asked questions about this, will be on doTERRA every day as well, just so you can be reassured that all the data we're putting into the doTERRA system is all going to be all above board and everything. So there's nothing to worry about in that mass scale. And now Claire is going to come and help us as individuals. So thank you so much, Claire. So you can just unmute yourself and let us know if you have any trouble. Yeah, perfect.
Good evening. Hello. I have had trouble sharing from my laptop, so if you want any of the documents, I've shared them with your Google Docs now so that you can put them on your screen if you can. So if anyone wants to look at the grid or anything that I'm talking about, you can share them to your screen if you can get it to Zoom. Mine wouldn't do it. Yeah. Oh, you're muted now. That's fine. Anyway, good evening, everybody. My name's Claire Lidstone. My background is physiotherapy, and I'm also doing a lot of training at the moment for the National Day Nursery Association to ensure the early year settings are all up to GDPR standard, but also to take some of the fear away. I've done a lot of research myself through the ICO and doing some of the sharing of information. So what I wanted to do tonight is just start to introduce the GDPR to you so you understand why it's been brought in, and from there you can look at some of the things that you need to look in through the ICO. So the beginner's guide by myself, I've done a crib sheet of what I'm saying tonight so that it can be shared by Rebecca and Nathan via email. And there's also a grid that I think, looking at Nathan's face, you're seeing if you can get on Google Docs now. I've shared the link and I've emailed it earlier today.
Where did you share it?
Google Docs in Rebecca Arbowles at Gmail,
Okay.
just Dr. Dara at Gmail. So hopefully they'll be able to screen share tonight. If not, it is a shareable document that we can get to you after tonight. Basically, the General Data Protection Regulation is due to be enforced from the 25th of May this year. It's regulated by the Information Commissioner's Office, which is the ICO, and they're available at ico.gov.uk, and they are extremely helpful both via web chat and frequently asked question sites and emails that you can fill in and ask them whatever you need to ask them. They are assuring us via their website that the ICO are not here to trip anybody up, certainly not small businesses, and they're not there to fine unnecessarily. Their main aim is to ensure that the public data is looked after in the new cyber universe as they're talking. The reason for GDPR is they're needing to update the previous Data Protection Act, which was written in 1995 and has been enforceable since 1998. So if you just stop a minute and think how many of you have previously had mobile phones. How many of you had a mobile phone in 1995? How many of you had a mobile phone in 1998? How many of you emailed in 1998? How many of you did online shopping in 1998? So basically the World Wide Web has come in and changed things massively for you, and so what they're needing to do now is update the data protection laws to make sure that our data is being looked after in the big cyber universe. So GDPR is coming in to condense and it's going to be quite a condensed list, and they're just making sure that people are using data appropriately and that people aren't just selling it behind our backs. For instance, I now, as a family, can't get to Ireland for less than £400 because they recognise, Aer Lingus and Ryanair recognise that I'm a frequent flyer to Dublin to see family. So I can't get the £5 last minute deals that some people can get because they're tracking my history. When you're on Facebook or email and you've booked flights, suddenly car hire will come up, or why don't you rent this apartment in Malaga or wherever it is you book flights to. So they're tracking our information sometimes without our consent and then selling it on and sharing it behind our backs, if you like. So that's why it's coming in. It's to stop some of the practices that have become quite common with some of the bigger businesses. They're not there to stop people setting up their own businesses and run businesses as you need to. So what we need to be assured, and when we're looking at what we're doing as wellness advocates, is to make sure that all the data we're collecting is data that we need to have, and that we're only keeping data for as long as we need to have it, and that when we're taking data from our clients and storing it and sharing it with doTERRA themselves or possibly another wellness advocate because we feel they know more than we do about something, that we are actually letting our clients know we're doing this and that it's totally transparent. They're saying that anything that identifies someone or can identify someone is personal data, and they're saying that if you continue collect that data and use that data, that you have to have a record of how you're looking after it, what you do with it, how you intend to use it, and how you intend to destroy it when it's the time. They're saying that all personalised data must be processed and stored securely, whether that information is held as a data file on a phone or a computer or as a paper document. Okay. Ultimately, we are accountable for looking after anyone's information that they've given it to us. Okay. And that they're just wanting to know that we are able to demonstrate what systems and processes we have in place, but also that we're following them to ensure security of data and compliance with the new general data protection regulations. Okay, things we definitely know as wellness advocates that will serve you well is that you should be registered with the Information Commissioner's Office, or the ICO. If you process or hold personal data as any part of business activity in the UK, it is a requirement to be a member of the ICO or are registered with the ICO. You can do an online survey with the ICO.org.uk to see if it's something you feel you need to do for your business practices, but they do state that anything other than a hobby must be registered, and that's at a cost of £35 per annum to be registered per business. Okay, one of the best reasons to be registered with the ICO is that it's the protection that they will give you in the event of you being reported for a breach. One risk we sit on, personally, I think we might have as wellness advocates, is that we are in marketing and we are in sales. So some people who have got a bug to bear, or they're just not in the best place, or they've been harassed in the past by other people, you may do something of a legitimate interest, which we'll talk about in a minute. You may do something out of the goodness of your heart. They may take a beef on and they report you to the ICO. Now, the ICO are unlikely to take every single complaint and follow it up. But if they were to look into you, they'd want to know that you were aware of what data you hold, how you look after it, why you contact people, and that you've actually got a track and trace for your activity when you are contacting people and when you are using and holding on to data. Yes, I can. Sorry, I'm always accused of speaking fast. So when we look at all this, as I say, all this is also can be shared with you as well. But personal data includes and is defined as any information that can be used to identify someone. This includes the name and date of birth, an address, a telephone number, email addresses, bank details, account details, photographs, and health information. Now, I know as a wellness advocate, when I do some of the work and some of the follow-up information groups with some of my clients, I certainly do have their credit card details when I start helping them set up their accounts. I obviously don't keep a record of those. I destroy them as soon as that's on the accounts, but they do give me some health information. They give me some of their wellness concerns, and those are things that sometimes I have documented when we've had a conversation. So now what the ICO are saying and what GDPR means is that I need to have and risk assessment of what data I'm holding, why I'm holding it, how long I hold it for, where I store it, how I keep it safe, but also that the client knows that I am keeping that information. I can no longer assume that the client knows I'm going to hold information about them. The other thing they're asking is that if there was a breach of data, if I lost data, if data got stolen, maybe I had a bag of forms from after an event and I left it in the boot of my car while I went into the shop on the way home. If that got stolen, that would be considered a breach of data. If I accidentally sent an email to the wrong client with details of another client, that would be a breach of data. If I inadvertently left a list of bank details or credit card details or log-on details or anything that someone had given me to look after or access their account or help them with their account, if I left that where someone else could access it and someone else accessed it, that would be a breach of data. And they're saying that if you do have a breach of data where someone would be financially impacted, emotionally impacted, or their reputation would be impacted, or they may feel the need to complain against you, then it's very important that you do report yourself to the ICO within 72 clock hours if you do have a data loss or breach, which could negatively impact someone. They don't want to hear about everything, but they do want you to do, which is one of the reasons I think it's very important that you are registered with the ICO and you look into what the ICO are offering so that you know that you're doing everything by the way they're recommended. The other thing to know is all data can only be held and stored for a limited amount of time. So some of the timelines will be depicted and determined by your insurance companies or your professional bodies. So for instance, if you use doTERRA oils as part of an aromatherapy business, those aromatherapy records, or aromatherapist records, your professional body or your insurance will state how long you need to keep those records, and you need to show in your risk assessment that you are keeping to those timelines and keeping them appropriately in the time. Medical records, generally for healthcare professionals, they say we need to keep them for 7 years, and financial records are obviously also kept by advised to be kept by HMRC for 7 years as well. If you're a limited company, you may need to keep some of your records for 10 years. So when you're looking at how long you keep data to support your business, you need to make sure these timelines are clearly stated excuse me, and clearly followed, and that you're sticking to those as well. So some of you will be quite new to the business and working for yourselves, but it's very important that you understand what your business needs are, because if you have a legal and legitimate right to hold that data, maybe it's a cash flow or a receipt system that you need with some of your clients, it might be something that you've provided through a fair before they hold an account themselves, then you need to let those clients know that for cash counting purposes, there needs to be a record and a track of that product going to them. So that would be a legitimate and legal reason to keep that document. This is important when people start talking about consent for data and their right for erasure of data, because if you have a legal reason to hold that data, either as a health record or as a tax purposes document, you have a legal right to hold that documentation, and you get to keep that as long as you can prove you're keeping it securely and safely. It's also important that you don't go beyond your timelines. It's very important that you stick to your timelines, because that's part of the GDPR compliance, is that you're making sure that data is only stored for as long as you need to. Okay. The other thing to remember as well is that some of the data you hold for people is sensitive data. So you need to be able to show that you're giving that data extra respect. So if they've shared a concern about the well-being of themselves or a family member that you don't consider to be safeguarding or GP reportable, you then obviously have to keep those documents secure and safe as well. So this is when we start to look at how we mitigate our risks. The important thing to always remember is that we don't hold on to data longer than we should do. So you need a plan of how you erase that data as well. Sorry, my throat now. I can do a 3-hour training without a drink in the day. So there is additional guidelines at the ICO you can look into as well for consent for data usage and contact via email. So it's very important, if you're contacting people via email, that you do understand legitimate use for marketing and also the consent process for email. Now, the ICO have a brilliant page, which is it's the guide to privacy and electronic communications regulations, and that's one of the pages that actually is a guide for all organisations that wish to send electronic marketing messages, and they state by phone, fax, email and text, use cookies or provide electronic communication services to the public. Okay, so it explains how the regulations will apply to you, and they give practical examples and answer frequently asked questions, and that's available on the ico.org.uk website. Excuse me. Okay, so again, I'm not giving you legal advice. What I'm trying to do is just debunk some of the myths that are out there at the moment and begin to guide you to the resources that you need to be following, so that you know that you're doing what you need to do. When you do have data, what's very important is that you do a risk assessment. Okay, risk assessment is what you need to prove, if you're ever investigated by the ICO, that you've taken the measures that you need to look after the data. Okay, you need to know where you store it, how long you store information for, how you destroy it. And we recommend at the moment that you would review this quarterly, 6 monthly or annually at a minimum. So annually at a minimum, you should be going back and reviewing what data you hold, and can you track, can you look after it, and can you update any documentation you hold. I was recently contacted by someone who called me Miss Griffiths on the phone. I haven't been Miss Griffiths for 12 years. So that data that someone has on me is fairly old, and they've got it from somewhere without my consent. So from moving on, I would be able to contact someone and say, can we look into this, please? I'm not very happy with this, that someone's contacted me so long after. Okay. When you do the data audit, there is a form, there is a risk assessment form that, again, I have shared with Rebecca to hopefully show us tonight, where we start to look at what we need. Okay, see if we can get that. There we go, lovely, thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so when we look at it, we look at what data we collect, where we collect it from, how we collect it, the purpose we have it for, where we store that information, who else may have access to it, who we share it with, whether it's a legal requirement. At this point, if it's not a legal requirement, we then need to state that we've got consent for it, the length of time we keep it, how we and when we will delete it, what risk, if it was to breach, what is the risk of it being breached? Okay, so in terms of it, is there a risk of identity theft? Is there a risk of someone contacting them from our list? If we were to leave a long list out of emails, could someone else contact them and then claim that we'd leaked their data? And then any comments would be how you're managing those risks, how you're managing your data, and how you're looking after it. And that's the basis of a lot of the risk assessment you need to do. The other good thing with this risk assessment is that when you identify you've got a legal requirement to keep it, that gives you the right to have that data. When you need to use consent or legitimate interest to have that data or use that data, that gives what you need for your privacy statement, which we'll talk about in a minute. As someone who shares data and looks at people's data and collects data from someone, you now and moving forwards, you will have to have a privacy statement to make it clear what data you hold, how you use it, how you store it, and how you share it, so that people are confident that you are looking after their data. And if the ICA were to look into your business at all, they are confident on how you are looking after your data. So every piece of literature, every piece of data you have on someone, anything they share with you that you hold on to, needs to be on your risk assessment. Now, I know some of you will not only be wellness advocates, you'll be doing other things as well, maybe personal training or yoga classes or other things like that. And all of that needs to be, all that data you hold moving forwards needs to be risk assessed. And then you need to determine in your privacy statement whether you're keeping it for legal, insurance, legitimate interest, or consent purposes, and then state accordingly in your privacy statement. If it's something that requires consent, such as using their details in marketing, maybe using a comment they've made, or a photograph of them in marketing, that would require additional consent, which you would tick for. I know a lot of people are worried about opting in and opting out of email marketing. Again, the ICO does do a brilliant guide on marketing and how to still use marketing and emails for marketing, and what the email privacy statement and the email provision will be moving forwards. So my advice, if it's something that worries you, is definitely look at the ICO website. There is some confusion because some are saying that you need to actively opt in at this stage. Some are saying that you only need to give the option to actively opt out. And that is somewhat to do with how the information was gathered in the first place. So for instance, I drive a Mercedes. So when I bought my Mercedes, I opted into the Mercedes to contact me deals because they were my car supplier. I had my insurance with them, and I do all my car maintenance with them. That means I have opted in. So technically, when they're asking me to opt in again at this point, it's not that important because I've already consented to receive information from them. However, if Vauxhall or BMW have got my details previously from the DVLA and know that my car plate is 3 years old, and now they're going to mark it to me because they know from the DVLA my car is due for renewal, and they think, oh, we'll see if she's tempted to move to us. They haven't sought my consent to get that information. They haven't sought my consent to market to me. So at this point, they should really be saying, well, we got her information from a bought list, or we got her information from scouring the internet. So at this point, we need to opt in. So if most of your clients have already opted in with you via text, or opted in via Messenger, or opted in via email, what they're asking for now is that consent is quite clear. So if it's a relationship through Facebook, if it's a relationship through email, if you can track that and trace that and document that it was a consensual at that point, that's great. Moving forward, some of your new leads really need to be going through legitimate interest at the first stage. So if you identify legitimate interest to contact them, be it that they've shared an interest in oils, or they've left an email at an event, or they've had a conversation with you, or they've asked for advice, that would be that you would maybe start an email with, thank you very much for showing your interest in this. I am sharing this information with you. At any stage you want me to stop, please ask me to stop contacting you. But if you wish for further information, please email me back and I'll send you some more. So you've almost got that I'm contacting you from a legitimate interest point of view, and now can you consent to it? Once you're in a wellness advocate relationship with someone and they're buying the oils, there is a contractual element as well. So they share a lot of their detail with you for contract purposes to help them set up their account. And sometimes you assist them with their account and their ordering to start with. They will need to know the whole tree situation, where we can see what people in our tree are buying and not buying in their activity. Moving forward, the doTERRA will need to make it quite transparent to them that we're able to see their buying and their doing and their using. I would say at that point, because it's on the doTERRA website, that's very much doTERRA's responsibility to do that. But equally, if you feel that you're monitoring that and then you're going back to your wellness advocates, if they're within your team and you're saying to them, well, do you want to try LRP now, or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? It would be wise to let them know that that is one way that you do use data that is held for them, that is held by doTERRA, and that's something you do as part of your tree. So again, it's not to say what we're doing we can't do. It's just now that we need to be transparent as to what our motivation is for doing it, how are we doing it, and are we looking after that data? And are we sure when someone shared their data with us, they understand that we keep it? The other thing as well is, if they're not in a contractual relationship with us, we don't need their data for HMRC, and we don't need it for insurance purposes moving forwards because we haven't necessarily sampled them or anything like that. Then if they give us their details at a fair because they think they're interested, but then they change their mind, they have the right to be erased. And it's very important, if someone has asked you to erase them and not contact them again, that you have that documented too. Partly again because it shows ICO that you're tracking and tracing properly, and it also stops you contacting someone that has asked you not to and risking the event of a complaint against you and possibly an investigation from the ICO. As I say, the ICO have stated quite clearly they're not wanting to just set up penalties and penalise everybody left, right and centre. That's not what they're there to do. They're just wanting to make sure that people are happy with the way their data is being used and shared, and that people who are using and sharing data are looking after it. So it would take quite a lot for the ICO to come down on you if you can then show that you're doing everything to protect it. So if you can do that risk assessment and move forwards, that will really help you prove that you're doing what you need for the ICO. But if you're going to be sharing data with anybody, and one thing is GDPR compliance, is that you ask them that they're compliant too. So some questions to ask yourself and anyone that you share data with is very important. What is your role and the purpose for handling that data? What data do you hold and process? Where are you getting the data from? What format are you holding the data? Who do you share it with and how do you share it? How long are you keeping it? How often are you updating, archiving and deleting? And if it's archived, where are you storing it? And then to ensure you're compliant with the data collection, storage and sharing that is controlling and processing, everyone should carry out that risk assessment, as I say. To be ready for GDPR on the 25th of May, you must be able to demonstrate that you understand your responsibilities for the data you hold about people and that you have the systems and processes in place to protect all that data you hold. It's not a tick box exercise. You must follow the processes to protect that data. And you also need to understand moving forward the client's right to access the data you hold about them, and that you previously people were able to charge if someone asked to see the data, admin fees and things, but if you hold any data about them, no matter what reason it is, they have a right to see it, and you must show it. So you must also document how you track and manage these requests. You should also have so it's not a silly question. That risk assessment form that has just been on the screen, if you could see that, is available. So if you either email myself or Rebecca, and we'll get those details to you at the end, we'll get a copy of that risk assessment for you, email to you, so you can use it. But again, the ICO will also have something similar on their website. The other thing they do for the privacy statement on the ICO is, if you type in parts of your business, you answer questions as you go, they also send you a template for a privacy statement that should cover your business, because they recognise that no two businesses will need the same GDPR compliance information. So they have got these structured questions that you go through, and then they give you the information at the end. Okay. The main thing also as well is you will need your clear privacy statement, or privacy statement some people say, available if you're collecting and storing data, so your clients always know what and why you hold it. And as I say, the ICO website can help you with that by answering those questions. Okay, we are nearly done, I promise. Okay, so are you ready to be GDPR compliant on the 25th of May? If you're registered with the ICO, if you can carry out a risk assessment and audit what data you hold, if you can have a privacy statement written and accessible to your clients, letting them know what data you do hold, why you hold it and how you use it, if you make sure your IT systems are up to date and your virus software is updated if you use a computer, laptop or phone, if you have password protected files, password protected laptops and password protected USB sticks, if you protect your phone with a PIN and can cancel that phone immediately if it was stolen, if you back up to cloud or hard drives, and if you don't leave your passwords on open chain saved on your devices, if you have a system for deleting and destroying your paper files or your data files, and have clear timelines for your data storage, which you will do once you've done your data risk assessment. If you have a documented email usage policy, which is that you always blind copy when you're sending group emails, that you delete after data is used. So for instance, if Rebecca was to send me an email today with her credit card details that she wanted me to set her up on a doTERRA account, I input those into the doTERRA account and delete the email immediately. I am beginning to do what I need to do to ensure the data is as safe as possible. And if I'm archiving anything, because I want to keep that in case there's an error and I can check what did she give me, what did she send me, what did I set up, where was the error, then I specify that I'm going to archive that for the time that it takes for the order to be processed successfully, then that would be what I need to do. If you've got a system that can track and trace data requests, and your insurance companies and regulatory bodies may need data requests to be in writing or signed for, so do check the insurance requirements of the insurance company that you're with, especially if you're a professional using them in other manners as well as just sharing as a wellness advocate. Make sure you're sticking to those timelines. And then again, you'd still need a track and trace system in case those breaches occur, in case any of that data is lost or shared inadvertently. You also need to know how you store your insurance documentation and any claims or complaints made against you. If you have that in place, which is all something you can actively do, you should have no need to panic. So all I ask you to do at this stage is don't get caught up in all the hype. Do not panic. Risk assess what you have. Protect the data you use and store. Be transparent about you have the data and how you use it. Get consent to use data where there's not a legal or legitimate need for the data, and this is important for marketing. Ensure you have your privacy statement. Contact the ICO if you think you may have a breach in the form of a loss or accidental share of data, or if someone may use them against you in a malicious complaint. And then use the www.ico.org.uk website for all their resources to keep you sane and get you compliant. Then you'll be ready and able on the 25th of May when anyone says to you, but you work for a marketing company, there's no way you can be GDPR compliant. You can say, I am doing everything in my power to keep data safe and secure. I have had the advice I need from the ICO and I am not doing anything I shouldn't be doing. And you will know that you are GDPR compliant and unlikely to face any problems moving forwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you. I'm sure there might be a few questions.
Yeah, there's just been one that's come in. Yeah.
Okay.
The ICO is the Information Commissioner's Office for the UK, and it's to oversee the UK GDPR implementation. Each EU country will have its own new data protection bill coming in this year. So we've got the GDPR from the 25th of May, which is EU directive and covers the whole of Europe. And later this year, the UK will have its own data protection bill, which will mirror a lot of what GDPR says. Yes, the ICO is a UK-based company. So if you're passing information through the UK, you do need to follow the GDPR rules set out by the ICO.
Brilliant.
Any other questions?
Questions? If not, I have a couple.
Okay.
See if anyone else has any questions. So in terms, when you were saying about emailing somebody and saying, thank you very much for your details, if you don't want me to email you again, then please let me know and I'll wait for your reply to email you again, kind of thing. Yeah. In terms of newsletters, because quite a few of us do newsletters, so you've got their information. Obviously, they're not going to send a reply to your newsletter. You're not expecting them to. So is it okay to simply just add that in your newsletter saying, don't want to receive this, please let me know?
Yes, that would be absolutely fine to give it. They just always need that option to opt out and let them know they needed to opt out. So as I say, most of us as wellness advocates will have only got information to date via a fairly consent process already through people we know. So we aren't very vulnerable to being in a position where someone will say, well, how the hell did you get our data?
Yeah.
If the big stumbling block would be possibly if someone had a conversation with you at a fair, I keep looking at you because I can't see anyone else, and you thought, oh, actually, Claire might be all right to do this one because she's a physio, so she knows more about back pain. And then I contacted them out of the blue because you'd given me the details. It would just be now having that conversation where you say, are you happy for me to give these details to another wellness advocate that have, and then you would just document and send me information saying, I've had a conversation with this person, she has consented for you to contact her. And then I would contact her knowing that I had consent. And then I would say, following your conversation, it's the things we do already.
Document.
But it's just document everything. People are worried that I've given them loads of information. So I have, as I say, that everything I said tonight, pretty much I've followed a crib sheet tonight. So I've gone off a little bit with a few more examples, say, but all that information is there. Okay. The privacy statement, you best really, because it will depend on how you're using the oils as part of your business, to go to the ICO website and go through their process of developing your own privacy. Gosh, the questions are coming in so fast, sorry.
I know, you have to scroll up.
I was going to say, I can't read them.
Because you don't have control then, do you? Sorry.
I can't see the messages, sorry.
Okay, let's go back to the first. We'll just go through the questions. So
someone asked about the trade fair.
Super helpful. See, it's okay to have a tick box, on your forms from a trade show. Can you see that question?
Yeah, I saw that one flip up. So if you can, if you were to get them to tick at that point to say that you're happy for them to, they're happy for you to contact you. But now, it's just about now, instead of just assuming when they give you their email address, you're happy for them to contact you, you just need to get them to tick to say, or initial that they're happy for you to contact you.
Okay.
Or them, I should say them.
Can you see any of the questions, or do you want me to read them?
I can't see any of the questions.
I'll read this next one. So if I get basic details from leads at a fair in order to follow up samples, do I need to get them to tick a box? Oh yeah, it's the same thing, I think, to say they understand what I am doing with their data.
Yeah.
That was the same. Good, you guys were on.
Yes, yeah, you do.
Then. Next one. How much evidence do you need to prove people have opted into a newsletter? She says, I have collected emails at an event, then added them to my newsletter as requested, but I've destroyed the evidence where they wrote their email addresses.
That's not. I was going to say, moving forward, that is the sort of thing that they would say it's probably wise you keep for a period of time afterwards. But it probably on your newsletter, I would always just start it with, oh, we've got some lovely new people that gave me their addresses at there. So you've almost got that, you are all here because you want to be here. Again, also without panicking, if someone has given you their email address and you send them a newsletter, they're not going to complain that you sent them a newsletter because they know you're going to do it. So it's it's really about people not just contacting people that aren't expecting them to be contacted. And so that can be like, it's more likely to happen if I had a conversation with a friend in a bar and said, oh, you'd really benefit from these oils, and then I just handed her details to someone I knew that sold the oils or was a wellness advocate, and then didn't let her know I'd passed her details on. Yes, all paper copies need to be under lock and key, ideally in a fireproof metal lockable box or filing cabinet.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely locked wherever possible. You need to be making those steps to make sure it's locked and away.
Okay, thank you so much for all this information, but there was so much. Are there any notes you might have and be able to share with us so we can read the bullet points again as a guideline? Are you going to say the ICO, or do you have any points yourself?
I was going to say, we've got that document that I sent over to you, Rebecca, which is the 5 pages. I'm happy for that to be shared with anybody that requests it. I don't know with you, what's the...
Do you want me to put it?
Yeah, if you want to put it on something.
The Facebook group. Can I put it on there underneath?
Yeah, Facebook group's fine because it is just debate.
Is that okay? Cool.
Yeah.
I've got that consent from you.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm all legal, aren't I? GDPR.
Yeah, you've got that consent. Definitely, Virgo. Definitely.
How easy it is. Everyone saw it. It's been recorded. I can keep this video for how long? Brilliant. I'm getting the hang of it.
How long you need? I'm not going to complain. You're okay. That's fine. Laptop. They've just said about laptop. All laptops should be password protected, and if you've got someone's personal data, so even if you've got like 100 list and names and details on it, it should be a file that other people, other members of the family can't have access to. So you just need to make sure that on your laptop you've all signing in under a different sign-in name, or that you've got a work sign-in, or you've got password protected files within that, or they're stored on a password protected cloud file such as Gmail or Apple or whichever one you use. But yeah, not that no one else should be able to access those files.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. And then it's been asked here, how does it work with our back office, as everyone in my upline will have access to all my customers' details? This
is something that doTERRA is going to have to get onto now, because it's a business arrangement. There should be a professionalism amongst us, that we can't steal each other's details or anything like that, and that we're all bound by that confidentiality. The privacy statement from doTERRA will need to tell us that that's happening and that can be accessed. So obviously, the higher up the line you are, the more you see. The lower down there's less you see. So yes, as people join in, they will need to be told that other people can see their spending activity, everything that we can see. They need to be told that. Now, realistically, I think doTERRA are going to throw that back out to us to make sure that we're telling people that. But we'll wait and see what doTERRA say about that. But if you feel you want that in your privacy statement about how doTERRA works, or that you will go through the back office with them to show them and demonstrate, which happened for me anyway when I was signed up, they showed me how it worked. Then that will be something that you can decide as part of your business plan and data protection policy plan.
I'm pretty sure, because I was speaking to Lisa today briefly about this, and she said she seemed to think that doTERRA was going to take control of that. So we'll, like you say, we'll wait and see. But I think they already had, because let's remember as well that there has been data protection laws before this. It's now just saying it needs to be much more transparent. But doTERRA have been very data protected. They've had quite a few of these things in place already. So I think that was one of the things she was saying was in place already. So, but we'll have to see. That's
one thing, is to say a lot of this, it's already in place. It's just that the public now are going to know they've got a right to ask, are you looking after my data? And you'll say, well, yes, I have been all along.
Yes. Okay. Do you have an example of a privacy statement? I've just looked around on the ICO website. The information is overwhelming.
Isn't it?
I can imagine it is. Is there any way, if we want to try and, obviously we want to scare people and have too much information?
I don't want to, very difficult sitting here. Very few people are only a wellness advocate. So it would be possible to put some of the wellness advocate privacy statement into their bigger picture if they're using oils as part of their businesses. So everybody that runs a personal training business now, as I say, yoga tutors, pretty much everybody that's working with the public and has data are going to need this privacy statement. You'll need to state what data you hold, how you use it, how you store it, how long you have to keep it. So again, if you track someone's money coming in, and if you're dealing, and this is why it's very important probably moving forward, that they're given more of their own accounts straight away, with the sampling and things that sometimes go on initially. There's sometimes they get 1 or 2 oils before they sign up as wellness advocates, and then you need that paper trail to show where oils have come and gone. They would need to be kept for your tax purposes for 7 years. So if there is a transaction, you will need to put in that some of the documentation will be kept for up to 7 years for accounting purposes. So it's just that transparency that's needed. The wording is basically just letting them know that you won't intend to share the information with anybody else other than doTERRA, and how it's kept secure. So you go through that assessment of what data you hold when you do your own risk assessment of what you're doing with your business, and then you write your privacy statement from there. If it's something, as I say, like marketing or photos or sharing information, then you may need a consent box on that. If it's just the fact that you keep some of it for legal and legitimate purposes, it's just informing them and that they need to sign to say they understand.
Okay.
I was going to say I'd need to speak to doTERRA before I could put a privacy statement, because it would impact on their business model if wellness advocates, if I'm reluctant to specifically say what can be said from a doTERRA point of view, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. But realistically, I mean, most of us would going to just destroy the paperwork straight away as soon as we've inputted their details. So all those things, and that could be on the back of the enrolment form even, just to,
yes.
And then in terms of the information, we're just going to be keeping emails, aren't we? Name, telephone number, maybe. So that just needs to be stated in the privacy statement.
Yes. Yeah.
Just that.
So the quicker you can get rid of stuff, the less you need to say you're doing with it, and the better. Yes.
Okay. So just wanted to ask if there'll be some wording we can copy. Oh, there we go. For example, privacy stuff. Okay. Yeah, we've already done that. I did a poll on Facebook. Can I contact people who answered the poll as I can see who they are?
You can, under legitimate interest, and say that you expressed an interest in this. Am I right that you want me to contact you? And at which point they can give consent. And if they give positive consent, you can continue to contact them. If they withdraw at that point, then you've got to respect that.
Okay. So it's not enough that they've just responded once. You've got to actually get their input to be contacted. Yeah.
Ask permission.
I was at a GDPR meeting last week, and one of the issues was being very clear on your MailChimp, for example, which list they joined. You can't add them to any list other than the one they think they signed up to.
Yeah.
I was told that it was okay to have a generic list like Lulu's newsletter. Okay, so if you had that as an option, you're going to sign up to the newsletter, tick that box, add a fare, you've signed up to it.
Yeah. So that's again to do with the fact that if I go to a yoga class and I've signed up to hear all about her yoga, and she starts selling and becomes a wellness advocate and starts selling oils, unless I've actually said, yes, you can tell me about your oils, you can't just assume that they're happy to hear about it. You need to ask for permission if you're sending it in a different newsletter.
Yeah, perfect. On my fair contact, I've added a list for email. Perfect. Yeah, good one, Heather. Great info. Thanks a lot to take in there. Will there be a recording of this webinar posted? No, sorry, no. No, yeah, we are. We've had permission from Claire to post this, so yes.
Positively consenting, and I'm totally informed in what that means. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I will never destroy this video. Is that okay? Is that okay? I tell you that.
It depends when I look back at it what I look like now.
Yeah. But I will not put it on public. I'll commit to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I take it we need to keep paper copies. Oh, you've already answered that one. Yeah, you've answered that one.
Someone's just asked, can you have phone confirmation? Yes, you can have phone confirmation, but I would, moving forward, document that somewhere. So either you have a spreadsheet that you've documented and consent was taken verbally over the phone. I would just make sure it's documented.
Okay, and literally that document, no one else is going to see it, just if you were to be investigated.
Yeah, definitely.
Or someone was to complain against you, like someone was to put in a complaint.
Yeah. And you've got to remember, the thing you've got to protect yourself from is if someone's going to randomly complain, it's likely to be professional jealousy or maliciousness or so just make sure you've done it to protect yourself in the event. We know what furore the whole network marketing world can create, media storms and social media furore. So protect yourself from anyone that might be a little bit malicious.
if anyone is using clothes, spelt with a Z, they have confirmed they are compliant.
Good. So most people now who are using other tech, and even apparently Dropbox was causing all sorts of fuss because they were saying that they were only going to be compliant on their business model, but apparently now they're saying all of their platforms will be compliant with GDPR. I think they were getting a lot of backlash. But yeah, just check with everyone you use and stored data with that they are saying they've either got the Privacy Shield or that they are GDPR compliant.
So if you have people under you that is enrolled by other people, is it still your responsibility to contact them or their enroller?
Support them. So if you feel they're doing it all, that's great. But if you are in a tree where you have people uplines contacting other people regularly, just let them know that that's who you share the data with, and uplines might contact them. So it's up to you to have that conversation with your team as to who contacts who and how much information you give. But if other people are going to contact them, they do need to be made aware of that at the point of enrolling.
When we as wellness advocates enroll a new customer, we fill in their details and tick the terms and conditions box on their behalf. Good question. So they do not read it. This now seems like an issue.
I was going to say, realistically, they just need to be pointed out that what you're going to do with their data. Ideally, they should be reading the terms and conditions before they sign up to anything. But yes, I'm not sure I always read terms and conditions.
I know. That's like, to be honest, if you go onto doTERRA Tools and get the doTERRA official enrolment form, which you're very welcome to use, on the back it has all the terms and conditions there. But we found at the beginning that was just so long-winded and people weren't reading them at all. No. But, we simplified the enrolment form and everything. But you could just put the back of the old one onto the back of our one of you, like our kind of simplified one, and then it's there. You could totally do that.
Yeah.
Couldn't you?
Yeah.
And add some more stuff to it, which is now.
Yeah.
But I'm sure doTERRA will be doing that, so you can probably just use it. Okay. When we tell someone that doTERRA has access to their data, do we need to tell them how doTERRA are looking after it?
If they report to be GDPR compliant, that should be enough that they're GDPR compliant. But if they ask, you do need to let them see the data protection policy for doTERRA, or at least know what doTERRA are doing. Yeah.
Perfect. We send a welcome email with a link to their terms and conditions, depending if they are a wellness advocate or a wholesale customer. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, Emily asked that. You've already answered that. If you're a therapist, am I right you should keep a separate record of okay to contact from their medical records? If you like.
Yes. So if you have medical records and contact about other products available, it needs to be separate list. Oh, there's someone's just popped up the privacy policy link for doTERRA, which will be very useful.
Excellent. That's good. And obviously there'll be a European one more updated soon. So Nikki's also on social media, can you still ask someone to be your friend or link to you? And if they accept you, then ask them if they are happy for you to contact them. Yeah. That's what
I was going to say, just be aware now that if you do that to someone who doesn't want you to, they're more likely to come back with, I'm going to report you to the ICO. But they're not going to get very far if you do, because the whole link thing through Facebook is one of the things they've been finding very difficult to work out how they're going to police with the new rules. So that will be if Facebook don't want you to contact people through people, it might be better to do a more generic, I'm just reaching out to lots of people to let you know I'm doing this. Please leave the group if you're not interested, and give them that option to opt out immediately.
Brilliant. That's come to the end of the questions, unless there's any more coming. You've done very well. I was just thinking if all my questions have been answered. I think they have. I think you've answered my questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. So thank you very much. So basically, not to feel overwhelmed is the take-home message.
Definitely.
doTERRA are going to be taking care of their side of things. We just need to be responsible and just be aware. So going onto the ICO, doing that risk assessment is the key thing I've taken out of this. And then they'll kind of take you through what you need to do then for the privacy statement, and just putting something on the back of my enrollment form is what I'm thinking I'll do, just letting them know how long I'll keep their form. I'll destroy it as soon as I've inputted their data, which will be in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And then letting them know at the class, maybe having a tick box on the feedback form. Actually, I think I'll add it to the feedback form. having a tick box, are they happy for me to send them newsletters? And they could tick that, right? So that could just be on the feedback forms. That's simple.
Yeah.
And then for your own recording thing at home, you just have like you did, that perfect box that as soon as you enter someone's details in, you just put it straight on there. I would just do it, and it'll just be really pretty much the same for everyone, so it's not going to be a hard thing.
It shouldn't be hard. An easy spreadsheet should do it. And even like Google, you've got your Google Docs, your Google Sheets and all that, that's easy to use.
Perfect. Brilliant. And then just be password protected, and that's easy.
Yeah, password protect
and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, a quick sneaky last one.
Yeah.
Double option apparently covers you as they are sent in email confirming that they're happy to hear from you. Okay. Double opt-in. That was brilliant, Claire. Lots of great info. I got nowhere when I was on the phone to ICO, apart from feeling totally overwhelmed. So she said, you have been clear and precise. Many thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time as well, everybody.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate this, Claire. Everyone's saying thank you now. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll update everyone as soon as we know about doTERRA's, and when they put out their question and answer thing, then we'll let you know too. And Claire will be hot on that, I'm sure, just checking.
Yeah, I'm just aware that some people are beginning to get people say to them, oh, how are you going to be GDPR? And it's like, it's coming, I'm working on it, I'm getting there, I know what it's all about. It takes that fear away for you.
Brilliant. It's perfect. It's really good. I was going to cover labelling tonight, but I think it just might be a little bit too much. I mean, I'll just give a real brief summary, because this is another thing that's coming up a lot at the moment, is people asking about the new labelling system. So just briefly, it's a really positive thing, because we've never been regulated with Europe before, not that we've had to be to sell the essential oils, but the fact that we're now EU regulated just adds more credibility, doesn't it, when you're talking to people. And it means you can, if you want to sell them in a shop, not that we'd recommend that way at all, but if you wanted to just put a few products up for retail sale, you can. So it's all positive stuff, but because of that, we have to jump through the hoops and loops of the EU regulation, which is why some of you already would have seen on your labels, it's either going to say skincare, or it's going to say pure essential oil, or it's going to say essential oil blend, basically. So there's 3 categories that you have to put an oil into, basically, and it was either cosmetic, or it's flavouring, which is obviously internal use, or chemical, which was oils that they said, are mainly for diffusion. They've managed to steer away from the chemical one, and they've put every single essential oil or blend that doTERRA have got into either the cosmetic or the flavouring group. And depending on which group they are, they again have to tick a few boxes. I don't want to go into too much info, because I know there's been so much info tonight, but just to reassure everybody, if it does say, if it's a cosmetic thing, it has to say skincare. That's why it says skincare, because you can use cosmetic for so many different things. So to stop confusion, it says skincare. So that's why it's going to say skincare. But it doesn't mean you can't use it internally. You can still use the oils exactly the same way as you did before. And the ways to kind of tell people this, if they ask, is to just recommend they go and see the PIPs, so the pips on each of the essential oils on doTERRA, and they'll give you, how you can use them, so whether you can take them internally. If an oil fitted into the flavouring one for the internal use, then they didn't have to specify anything else than that. So it's obvious you can take it internally if it's flavouring. So that's why it would just say pure essential oil if it's a single oil, or an essential oil blend. Then on the instructions, it will say about flavouring and taking it internally. So that's just it's a real summary. I know it's just a quick one, but it's great. We've never had instructions on the bottles before. So I've always said, because of law, doTERRA can't put these things on there, because it's from person to person. We're not going to prescribe and tell people exactly how much they can use. But now at least there's something on there. But it's not, you don't have to use it exactly the way that it says on the bottle. There are other ways to use it as well. And to just reassure people that we have to tick EU regulations. And they could actually they said food flavouring, and the skincare on the same bottle, but then they'd contradict each other. So that's why they don't do that. But so doTERRA basically had to pick one subheading, and they tried to do as many of the internal ones. So the ones that you use internally, they put into the flavouring category, because that just reassures people. But ones that are typically used on your skin more and not taken internally, they put as skincare. But people can get full information with the pips. So you can still use the essential oils exactly the same way. So hopefully that's given some clarification. But you can see the question and answers on the EU Every Day as well for that. So just carry on sharing the oils as you have been. And if people ask questions, refer them to the pips, if they want to know more. Okay, but I'm not going to say anything else. The product information, what's the other P thing called? But on doTERRA.com, you can look up every single one of doTERRA's products, and it gives the list of ingredients, if it's, like the shampoo or something, or it just, will tell you how to use that essential oil or that blend. So it'll say whether you can use it internally or topically, and just give a bit of a fluffy explanation, to be honest, of how you can use that essential oil, because they have to be very compliant. They can't say specific things, but you can find all these pips. If you just go onto doTERRA.com, search under the products, and there'll be a PIP at the bottom of each product, and just click on that. It's just a detailed information page on each product. Yeah, exactly. So it's all good. It's all really good. But just you'll see the labels changing a bit as you receive them. Cool. Okay. So I don't want to give any more information. We'll do some more on labels after convention. So we're not going to have a training next week because there's already far too much going on. So I really hope you are all coming to convention and we get to see you there. And we'll speak the Monday after, do a team call. Thank you again, Claire. Absolutely amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.